Hello, everybody, and welcome into another season preview show here at the Hockey Writers YouTube channel. We are up to the Boston Bruins here, and I've got Tommy Bennett, who covers the Bruins here at the Hockey Writers. Tommy, how's it going?
It's going good, man. It's kind of nice that hockey's in the air. We're in like a weird season where baseball's still going, football started, hockey's around the corner, so a lot going on. But can't believe October's here. I feel like the season just ended not long ago. That's the crazy part is hockey really didn't end that long ago.
It's true, and the offseason seems like it's dragged on. Like not many teams did a lot of things during the offseason until like maybe August, and then you had the Oilers and the Blues and doing things, and they were the only real team that kind of were
Mhm.
involved in anything. Um,
Hockey off season seems so rushed too. Like they
yeah.
got done with game 7, they had the draft, then free agency happened, and then it just died. It's like you guys crammed everything in 1 week.
I know, and most teams did everything on July 1st, and that including
Oh
the
yeah.
Boston Bruins. The Bruins, of course, got kicked out in the second round. I
Hmm.
didn't go much further. They, of course, dodged a bullet in the first round by almost having the Maple Leafs come back on them, but they were able to make it through and then were eliminated in the second round there. Lost a few players in free agency, but
Hmm.
then gained a few as well. So let's just jump right into the forward group here.
Yeah,
Starting off,
sure.
let's start with their newcomer. The Probably the biggest acquisition in free agency was Elias Lindholm. It
Hmm.
was pretty much a foregone conclusion that he was going to join the Bruins. It
Yep.
seemed like, and he's always been. It seemed to have always been in trade rumors too that they were going to try to acquire him. But of course, they signed
Mhm.
him, and now he's pretty much their top line center. What do you
Yep.
think about his acquisition? What is he going to bring to the team?
I think you needed another center. I think Coyle, I believe, is actually a true like top 6 center. He kind of proved it. Zach, I think, is better suited for the wing, and I think you saw more so in the playoffs
Hmm.
that the depth down the middle was lagging. I have nothing against Morgan Geeky, but that guy should not be centering your top line. I like what Geeky did. I thought he had a good career year, but that's not a guy you have centering your top line in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I think Lindholm's going to be great. I think his ability to win faceoffs is going to be really key. Like they now have, he's not Patrice Bergeron, but he's essentially like a poor man's Patrice Bergeron. Like he's going to take very crucial defensive zone faceoffs. Like if the game is 3-2, they need to win a draw, need possession. He's going to be that guy. He can man your top line. I'm really banking on him to have a replication of his 21-22 season where he was flanked by Gaudreau and Kachuk and they put up 100 plus points. He was a point per game player, a Selke nominee. I think playing with David Pastrnak is going to help that. I mean, you have a player in Pastrnak who can drive a line. Having a guy like Lindholm also will benefit Pastrnak, who's coming off back-to-back 100-point seasons. I think Lindholm's going to make the Bruins better. I think they'll be better at puck possession for one. They'll be better in the faceoff dot for two. He'll play penalty kill. He'll maybe play power play. They needed a top line center. They got one. They're pretty deep down the middle. I think their third line is going to be a little bit of a question mark, like who's going to center that line. But I think for your top two lines, you finally have something.
For sure. I mean, Lindholm hasn't been the same since that season where
No.
he put up that many points. But then, of course, he lost both his elite wingers too,
Yep.
which
His
does a
line
lot,
mates his
right?
line mates affected him. Like even in Vancouver, I don't like I because you're a Canucks fan and you probably know firsthand. Like I don't know if his line mates either in Vancouver like did it helped him out either, and it just was never the same in Calgary, like you said
No.
after they left. And having a line driver in Pastrnak could probably revive him a little bit, and maybe the Bruins will benefit in that factor.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Lindholm didn't really start off. He wasn't that good until the playoffs for the
Mm-hmm.
Canucks, and then he was on with Connor Garland and Dakota Joshua on the third line, and he ended up meshing well with them.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I wanted him to come back to the Canucks, but he probably wouldn't really fit. He'd be a third line center,
Yeah,
and on the Bruins, he's
not
a
at
top
that
line.
price.
At that price, third line center is not. It's just too
No,
much.
that not at that price is way too much. Like, and granted, the Canucks have a very dynamite top two lines with two very good centers. So Yeah, having him on the third line obviously makes some very elite cup contenders, but that's a tough pill to swallow.
For sure. And it didn't seem like, I mean, they tried to get him back, but the Bruins, of course, paid and got him for a while too. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think he's going to mesh well with Pasternak. I mean, he's shown in the past that he can play with
Mhm.
those top guys. So we'll wait and see how he can fit in. Jump to the rest of the forward group. You mentioned a bit about the third line there. What do you think about the rest of the team? I mean, they didn't really add a lot more to the group. I mean,
Mhm.
they got Kastelik in a trade in the Allmark trade.
Yep.
They added Max Jones. I mean, that's a fourth line guy. What do you think about the rest of the group here?
So I think if you have guys take the next step, like you like see Geeky replicate what he did, if you can see Trent Frederick, he's in a contract year, so I actually think he's going to have a career year, which is going to be really interesting to see. He's gotten progressively better every season. His shooting percentage is like 14% the last 2 seasons, like both back to back, which is absolutely insane. Guys come as like a fourth line grinder, like fight people to being an effective power forward, middle six type of guy. You're going to have Marchand play with Coyle. They developed really good chemistry. Your biggest X factor is going to be the second line right wing position. Sweeney kind of pretty much came out and said it for agency. Like he's going to leave it to the young guys. We'll see if Fabian Lysell can graduate. Georgi Merkulov's another one. I don't know if they see him more as a fit on the wing. He seems more suited as a center. Uh, how does Matt Patra bounce back?
Hmm.
His shoulder injury. He was extremely impactful when he was on the ice, and they definitely missed that. I know his production, if you just look at the stat sheet, it doesn't seem like much, but his on ice impacts were really good. They definitely missed that. He definitely brought an element of depth last year. I expect the same this year. There's been like people are definitely wondering like, is he going to start the year in Providence? Is he going to play with the big club? I don't know if I'd send him to Providence, but I get it. It's like if you want to see him fine tune his game, just kind of build some rhythm, especially after the shoulder surgery. But he gives you a great element of depth. So I think you have three good lines, and then you got a big bodied fourth line. I mean, I
Hmm.
think Max Jones, I don't think they signed him to play in Providence. He was fairly impactful, I think, on a fairly weaker Ducks team. He's physical. They definitely took a page out of the Florida Panthers playbook. They added grit. They added physicality. Kostelik's a face-off guy, which is something they
Hmm.
were missing in the bottom of the lineup. I hate to preach on face-offs, but like David Pastrnak led the team in face-off win percentage in the playoffs. That's not good. That's
No.
really bad. And I don't think he took like that many draws, but everybody was in like the very low 40s, like high 30s, and that's not ideal. And you saw that in the Florida series. But Kostelik's going to be just a grueling big body, can win faceoffs, be hard nosed. What you do at the fourth line other winger position? Do you put in Johnny Beecher? Do you have
Yeah.
Justin Brazeau? Like I don't know what element they want to go. They always preach on speed. So if it's me, you're putting John Beecher in.
Hmm.
I think I like Brazeau. I like his game. I think he's really good around the front of the net. But if you're looking for the speed factor, put in Johnny Beecher. He can
Yeah.
at least take faceoffs. Like say Costello gets tossed, you have another guy for faceoffs. So I think the forward group is deeper than maybe people want to give it credit.
Hmm.
I mean, they obviously proved that last year. Like that was a team everybody wanted to write off because Bergeron and Krejci retired, and they
Yeah.
went out, defied the odds, had a 109-point season, won around by the skin of their teeth. I mean, I'll give credit to the Maple Leafs where it's due. I mean, they figured out how to shut them down. I mean, I'll give credit to McCabe and Benoit. They
Hmm.
they were as good as you can be. I mean, you tip your cap when you can, but David Pastrnak obviously scored the game winner. But yeah, the forward group I think is going to be in good shape overall. It's just a matter of finding the right combinations, and that X factor is that second line right wing. You in an 82 game sample size, I think you can get away with, and this is for any team. This isn't just the Bruins. You can
Hmm.
get away with having a guy there. Like if Morgan Geeky has to play second line right wing, that's fine for 82 games. But you get to the playoffs and you face these teams, like who are they going to key on the most? They're going to key on David Pastrnak. They're going to try to
Yeah.
shut down Brad Marchand. They do that. Who's scoring goals? That was
Yeah.
their problem last year, and they ran into that problem in both series.
Yeah.
Honestly, they ran into that, and it's fine for 82 games, but it's not fine for the playoffs. That's my biggest thing. Like, ride the wave, but if like Lysell can't do it, go get somebody at the deadline. That's pretty much where I'm at with that.
It's true. I mean, you're looking at that. I think that second line is going to be the biggest question mark throughout
Mm-hmm.
training camp and preseason, of course, the season too, because the other guys they're all really good. I mean, you're looking at Zacha who had a career year last season,
Yep.
and now he's into a role where he's probably more suited.
Yep.
Rather than being where he was playing a lot of the minutes that Lindholm was going to take a lot now in those situations. So
Mm-hmm.
it is going to be, I think it's going to really help Zacha for sure, with Lindholm in the lineup too, right?
Oh yeah.
All right, moving to defense. They also saw a pretty big addition, not literally, and Nikita Zadorov, who is really big. And of course, I've got experience with him in Vancouver as well. He, another guy that I thought the Canucks should have re-signed, but again, the
Mm-hmm.
money, big money, and it seemed like he wanted to go to Boston. We'll start with him. What do you think about Zadorov being added to the Bruins?
I like that he can be like a versatile player in terms of where you can play him. If you want to play him on the top pair with McAvoy, you can. If you want to slide him down to the third pair with Andrew Peak, you can do that too. I mean, there's plenty of options. I don't know how they're going to construct the pairs. Mason Lohrein's shown he can play with just about anybody. He can play with McAvoy. He can play with Carlo. I thought he looked his best with Carlo. You can play Lindholm, McAvoy. It's just the options are endless, but you add a guy that brings an element to the game that they've been missing for a while. Like,
Mhm.
this kind of reminds me of the 2013, like the 2011 to like 2014 Bruins,
Mhm.
just big, mean, physical, can play defenseman. I mean, there was no shortage of deep pairings. You bring in a guy like Zadorov, he's going to hit people. He's going to cause chaos in front of the net. He's going to clear bodies. Like, no one's taking runs at guys now, not with him on the ice. Like, it's, I'm the contract, the term is like, it's a lot, but to bring in a guy of his caliber, like, you're getting a stellar shutdown
Mhm.
defenseman, and that's kind of what you need.
Mhm. For sure. And the thing is, Zadorov isn't just a physical defensive defenseman either. I mean, he can move the puck. He can
Yeah.
score at times. He showed that in the
Yep.
playoffs with the Canucks, where he was probably their most impactful, apart from Quinn Hughes, that is, offensively. And
Mm-hmm.
he's one of those guys where he does bring a lot to the game. And he, like I said, physical. He can move the puck. He's mobile, and he can play a lot of minutes. So I think
Oh yeah.
he really fits the Bruins style too, which is
Oh yeah.
all right.
His
Moving.
ability
Oh yeah,
to excel in transition was what like stood out to me too. Like, for
yeah.
a bigger guy, like, he can definitely push the play forward. Something you maybe don't expect from him either, but yeah, definitely will take it over Matt Grzelcyk at this point. And I like Matt Grzelcyk. I just think you need a guy like Zadorov over a guy like Grzelcyk.
Yeah, I mean he's probably going to play in that. Well, he's slated in the projections playing on the top pairing with McAvoy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's where he's going to slot in, but definitely top four. He's
Oh
going to
yeah.
be in there. He's going to be playing on the penalty kill power play, maybe even the second unit power play. I mean, he's had experience there. Who knows? But yeah, he's going to be a big addition for the group. I do agree. I mean, I don't want to compare him to Chara. Even he says he doesn't want to be compared to Chara because
But you're like
but
that stature of a
yeah,
human back there. Like, the Bruins haven't had that towering presence since he's been gone. And now, granted, I mean, the entire defensive group they're all big.
yeah,
They're all above 6 feet. They all pack some like good heavy weight. I think Charlie McAvoy now is the smallest of the defensemen, and
yeah,
which is actually kind of funny. But yeah, they're all big, and I think you're starting to see that a lot though around the league. You have these big defensemen, but they can all move.
yeah.
They're not they're not pylons. Like, they can all move, and the Bruins now have a fairly big, tall, lanky group of defensemen that can all move. So it's gonna be really interesting. I think them getting better defensively too is also going to be really key. They struggled in some areas last year that was masked by really good goaltending. So
Mhm. There you go. Great segue into the goaltending because the thing is, and Jeremy Swayman has not re-signed yet.
nope.
He is close as of
Yep.
right now we're recording. Seems like there's some progress being made on a deal, but we don't know where the money is going to be. But he will be back.
Yep.
So Jeremy Swayman is going to be the starter, de facto starter. Not, I mean, I don't think it's going to be a tandem, but I mean, I'll get your thoughts on it. But then you got Joonas Korpisalo, who is backup. What do you think about this tandem going into the season? Obviously, there's no more goalie hugs. It's not gonna be. I'm
Yep.
assuming it's not gonna be that anymore. What do you think about this new tandem?
So I'll start with the backup because I think that is the biggest key. Is like you look at the New York Rangers, for instance. I thought what they did was super smart. They took a gamble on Jonathan Quick. Igor Shesterkin didn't have a good start, and Jonathan Quick was able to come in and win games and play very good goaltending, which is great because you don't need your goalie. Like look at Georgiev. He started like 63 games, and Colorado doesn't have a reliable backup at all,
Yeah,
and he was tanked by the playoffs. Shesterkin, he was. It's like you have a guy in Quick who can kind of give him some rest.
yeah,
Now, for Jeremy Swayman, he's never played more than 43 games. He's
yeah,
never started more than 43 games. Now, do I think he's capable of it? Absolutely. I have no issues with his work ethic. I think he wants it too. Like as much as he, loved the tandem, loved his brother and Linus Olmark. I think he wants the crease,
yeah.
and I think he's going to excel in the crease. I have no issue with that, but you can't have what Joonas Korpisalo did last year at all. That would
Oh.
be detrimental, not to just like the Bruins, but like the tandem.
Yeah,
You got to have a reliable goalie that can give him like rest. I mean, Korpisalo had the worst year of his career. It like I almost felt bad for him because he wasn't a bad goalie the year before. Like his numbers in Columbus weren't great, but they weren't bad. And then he went to LA with a very tight structure, good defense. His numbers were great
yeah,
in a very small sample size. But a 327 goals against average, an 890 save percentage, and the second worst goal saved above expected with minus 16.1 is not ideal. If goalie coach Bob Asensa can work his magic like he normally does with these goalies and just gets Korpisalo to playing better hockey, yeah, the Bruins tandem could be, I'm not going to say among the best in the league, but it could definitely be something to
mhm,
where if Swayman does need a breather, you have a goalie that you can trot out there that can win games. I think Swayman showed a lot of promise in the playoffs. I mean, we've seen goalies that don't really become starters that have had phenomenal playoffs, but I think you saw what Swayman's capable of. I think sky's the limit for him. He very well could be a top three Vezina favorite this year. Who knows? But I think the goalie position isn't in the worst shape. But I think a lot of it lies with Joonas Korpisalo. Like, can he be any better? I know the bar's low, but can he be any better than what he was last year?
yeah. That's a big deal because the thing is the Bruins have relied on a tandem for so long,
Mm-hmm.
and going the one, the true 1A 1B type thing
Yeah.
where
Oh
they
yeah. It was
swapped
very
in
even
and out, right?
splits. Very even splits. Like 21-22 was pretty much dead even. 22-23 it was more Olmark. I mean, granted, both goalies were hurt at times, so you saw one kind of play a
Yeah,
little bit more than the other, but Olmark was on a Vezina binge. There
yeah,
was no taking him out. And then this year it was a little bit more Swayman. Numbers were better, but their numbers were both very close. But it was more Swayman than Olmark, and Olmark would come in if like Swayman was hurt. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think if you can get at least 50 starts out of Swayman, I think that's great.
yeah. So Corpusalo has to just have some a good stretch where he can come in and just play solid. He doesn't have to be phenomenal. He just has to be good.
Yeah,
Because
you
he's
just
gonna have
have
a
to be
great
like
defense.
you just got to be like above average for like
Yeah,
goaltending, just above average. I know that's not asking much. It's like It's like the Devils last year, like with Vitek Vanacek, they just
Yeah.
needed above average goaltending or slightly above average
Yeah.
goaltending. But like it just yeah, they just need something out of it just yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's look at the division, which is a very tough division. There's lots of great teams,
Yes.
and then of course there's the teams that we keep anticipating. Are they going to turn a corner this year? Those are the Sabres, the Senators, the Red Wings. I mean, all these teams seem to be on the cusp and they just never do it. They're going to do it one of these days. Where do the Bruins stack up here? Are they at the top still, or are they kind of in the middle with all I mean, especially the goaltending changing, but they did upgrade 2 spots of their lineup too.
So I did an article about the end of July, just kind of seeing how everything started there. Because like you said, it was so quiet that pretty much like all the moves that were made were just done. Like that was it. Like nobody was doing anything. Like, and even to this point, like no one's really done anything in the Atlantic at least. Like nothing major to where it's like it's changing. I think you'll see the bottom of the division kind of stay the same. Like I think Montreal will be at the bottom, but they're going to be very hard to compete against. Like I think that's
Oh,
going to be a very fun hockey team. I think they're young, but I think that's a team that like give it another like 2 years and they're gonna kind of cause chaos. Like they're gonna be fun. They might be at the bottom, but I think they're gonna be fun. And then it's the same thing as last year. It's the same question. All right, is Ottawa, Detroit, or
yeah,
Buffalo gonna like figure it out and take the next step? Like Buffalo, I could see them working magic with
yeah,
Lindy Ruff, like capturing that 2022, 23 lightning in a bottle like he did with the Devils. I don't know how well they stack up either, like with the rest. That I think those three will be fighting for the 5, 6, 7, maybe make a push past Tampa Bay, maybe.
yeah.
I got Tampa Bay finishing fourth. I don't think that's a team you can ever count out. Um, not with their core. I mean, not bringing back Stamkos was just I that will never make sense to me. That's a
No.
guy that should have stayed the captain of that franchise. Now, granted, they got Jake Gensel.
Mm,
He's proven that he can play with anybody that's not named Sidney Crosby.
yeah.
So you have a very dynamite top line. It's just do they have the depth? I mean, I think Hagel's great, but I think everything after the second line, it's like, okay, where are they going to fit? I still think they're going to finish fourth.
Mm.
I think the top three are going to be the same as last year in the exact same order. I honestly do. I don't think it's going to change. I think Florida, they're the defending champions. I know they lost a lot, but at the same time, they're very well coached. They're very well structured. They still have their core like top guys, and their depth on their roster is a lot better than people maybe want to give them credit for. Their back end might be the biggest question mark, but I do like what they did with Nate Schmidt. That was a
Mm.
very, very smart addition.
Oh
Very
yeah.
good, strong, good in transition, shutdown guy, can bring a little bit of production. McCullough showed a lot last year. I thought he showed a lot of promise.
Hmm.
Still have Ekblad. They're gonna finish. I think they're gonna finish first. You got Bob coming off that great year,
Yeah.
great run. Spencer Knight will be someone to watch for because they lost to Lars,
Hmm.
but I think Florida's gonna be the team to beat. And I think the Bruins are right behind them.
Hmm.
I don't think it's a large gap. I don't think like Florida's gonna win the division by like 15 points. I mean, if that
Right.
happens, that must mean Jeremy Swayman didn't sign and Bruins are rolling out a tandem of Korpisalo and Bussy or
Yeah.
DiPietro. There's just like it's that kind of. But I think the Bruins are going to be right there. I think the Bruins roster is deep. I think the Bruins roster has the talent, and I think given the pieces that they have in place, they'll play with better structure to allow for another successful season. And honestly, Toronto's not going to be that far behind.
Yeah.
I thought they actually made some really nice moves. They did get Stellars, so I like that. I actually, you know what? I like their goaltending. For the first time in like since they let Freddie Anderson walk away, they actually have goaltending that might actually get the job done.
Hmm.
Their forward group, their course will always be the question mark. You know what will you have after the core four and how much depth? But I like bringing back Domi.
Yeah.
They brought in Tanev. They got guys, and they're going to be competitive. They're going to be good. I'm curious how they play under Berube.
Yeah.
I don't think they played horrible under Keefe. think they just had playoff woes, and I think you have a guy now in Austin Matthews that's going to come out with a chip on his shoulder, and it wouldn't shock me if he won the MVP this year. I'm gonna just say that now, but it's going to be a fun division, but I think the big three are pretty much set in stone.
Mhm.
I think the Bruins stack up nicely. I think they'll definitely be able to compete even for the crown. It's just going to come down to probably the end of the season, the last week. Honestly, it's probably what it's going to come down to. So it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, I mean, some
Yeah.
of those departures definitely stung, but for the most part, I think the additions made up for it. Like, I think the Bruins are in better shape this year than they were last year, and look what they did last year.
Mhm. True. I agree with that. I think this division is it's gonna be a very interesting division to watch for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the teams that you don't know where they're gonna fit. And yeah, it's gonna be fun for sure. All right, let's move to our quick fire round. And these are all just quick answers, one
Sure.
or two sentences. Uh, so let's get started with our biggest storyline. What's the biggest storyline for the Bruins going into this season here?
Gosh, if I had to actually pick one, I had a few, but if I had to actually pick one, I think it really is gonna be the Jeremy Swayman number one duties. Like, how's Jeremy Swayman gonna fare as the number one goalie? Can he really handle the not only the workload in the regular season, but also carrying it into the playoffs?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, of course, he has to sign first, but that should come. I
Yeah.
think that's gonna be a big question mark because he is the starter and
Yep.
he has never been that de facto starter. That is. So yeah, that's gonna be definitely something to watch. All right, one or two breakout stars for this season.
Oh, what did I put for breakout stars? I had a few breakout stars. I'm gonna kind of go with some of the. I'm going Mason Lowry.
Mm,
Mason Lowry, I think he definitely had a couple of different stints. He came up, he came down, he finally came back, he stayed, he made his impact in the playoffs. He's going to get more opportunity this year. No Matt Grizzlick, so Don Sweeney's already said that he's going to play him on the power play. Could play top four depending
yeah.
on how they construct things. Definitely see a breakout year for the youngster and Mason Lowry.
Yeah, he was impressive with when he was up. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely a guy to watch. All right, someone that needs to bounce back from last season.
Korpisalo.
Yeah.
I know we touched on it, but like I think that could not make or break the season, but it's like you want to see him just very above, just at least above average, like give you quality goaltending when it's his night. Like not every night's going to be a win, but just definitely bounce back from the year before, and I think it's definitely possible he can do that behind a Bruins defense crew.
For sure. I think it's probably the best defense he's going to be behind since LA, and he was good in LA. So
Mm-hmm.
there you go. All right, you mentioned an X factor earlier on. I believe it was in the forward group. But is there a player? It could be a player, it could be a situation that could be an X factor this season.
I really think it's your X factor is Elias Lindholm. I
Yeah.
think that's your guy now. That's your number one center. He's going to play key situations, having success in the dot, winning key faceoffs, improving your special teams. Um, and that's another thing too. Stay out of the penalty box. The
Yeah.
Bruins took way too many penalties last year. Now, granted, the penalty kill was good, but you don't like you give a team enough chances, they're going to burn you one way or the other.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, their special teams I don't know, it was like fluctuated throughout the season.
Their power play was middle of the pack. I think their regular season they finished like 14th or 15th. Their
Yeah.
penalty kill was good, but you eventually give teams too many chances. Like,
Yeah. It's
you
gonna
know,
happen. It's a law
yeah,
of averages, right?
I forgot what game it was. They took like 7 penalties. It's like, okay, at some point, like they're
Come
gonna
on.
score.
They're
Like,
gonna
yeah, good for
score. Doesn't
you.
matter how
You
good you've
killed
been.
all 7, but
Eventually, it's gonna bite you.
yeah, eventually it's gonna just
Yeah. All right, let's talk about some prospects and rookies here. I don't know how much room there is for these guys to start the season, but is there a rookie or a prospect that could surprise and make the team?
I think all eyes are on Fabian Lysell. I think at this point you've seen what he can do in Providence the last 2 years. That wing spot is wide open for the taking. At this point, it's like served on a silver platter. It's just,
Yeah.
do you want it bad enough? And can you do what Matthew Poitras did last year? Can you literally come into camp with a smile on your face every day and give this staff every reason in the world to keep you?
Yeah.
Because that's what Poitras did.
Yeah.
It was either the Bruins or no, and he made the Bruins out of camp. Can LaSalle do that? If you want to stray away from the obvious, I mean, you can, if you're into college hockey, go watch college hockey. Go watch Boston College. Dean Letourneau will be playing for BC
Yeah.
this year. That's going to be really fun. Like, if you just want to see some of the prospects within the organization. And then, of course, you have like Jackson Edwards, Trevor Kuntar. They're all down in Providence. So if you just want to see the growth in the game of prospects that could come, then go ahead, definitely do that. Letourneau will definitely be on my radar just to see like how he does progressing at the collegiate level. But all eyes are on Fabian Lysell and Georgi Merkulov. Those are the two. Those
Yeah.
are the big two, because those are the two that very likely could crack the roster.
Yeah, Lysell, I've liked Lysell since he was drafted. I thought he's maybe a bit slow developing so
Mm-hmm.
far, but he's got so much talent. I saw him in
He does.
Vancouver with the Giants, and he was just so good. I think he's going to end up being a good NHL player. It's just maybe it's just a little bit slower. You gotta be patient with him. Hopefully, they don't trade him before he does
Oh,
hit
that would
because
be
yeah,
detrimental, because at this point, like, your two biggest prospects were Patra and Lowry, and they
yeah.
graduated already. So like after LaSalle, it's like you don't have
Oh
another
no,
like top end prospect basically.
yeah.
So
Letourneau's probably
it's
the closest to it, but
that, yeah, but
yeah.
he's got a couple of years probably.
Oh yeah,
But
he's
I know,
still
but I agree in the top end sense of things. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. All right, this could be an easy one. Who's going to lead the team in scoring at forwards and defense?
David Pastrnak for the forwards.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, he's done it the last 2 years. Ironically, the Bruins haven't had but one 30-goal scorer, and it's been him. So it's going to be him. It's going to be him the whole way. He's going to play in multiple situations, key situations. Puck's always going to be on his stick. It's going to find him. He's going to. Wouldn't shock me if he won the Rocket Richard this year, to be very honest.
Mm,
As for the defense, that's going to be actually very interesting.
yeah.
I kind of want to go like the ballsy route and just pick like Mason Lowry, but I could see like Hampus Lindholm bouncing
Yeah.
back and having a really strong year. Um, he had a tougher year offensively. I mean, he was still very good. He was still very good defensively. It's just, how it is these days with defensemen, points, points, points. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
where I'm a little bit different. I'm like, yeah, but he's doing his job. He's shutting down the opponent. He's suppressing the opposition. Like, that's
Yeah.
what you want. Like,
Yeah.
so I can see Lindholm bouncing back, having a good year. I'm gonna go Lindholm.
Yeah, I think Lindholm is one of those guys. He was so good when there were so
So
many
good.
injuries last season, and or not last season, but the previous season to that, where he took over when they had
Hmm.
was it Carlo and McAvoy were out, I think, at the beginning of the season,
Yep.
and even Grizzlick too. So I mean, and Lindholm just stepped up, was that number one guy. So if he can come back and become even close to that, I think that's definitely a big thing. He could lead the defense for
He
sure.
was. I want to say he was top five in Norris too that
He
year,
was. He did have get some
which
votes.
is like, which is absurd. Like,
Yeah.
but like good for Lindholm. Like, that's what you want to see.
Yeah. All right, let's finish the show with a bold prediction or a hot take for the Bruins this season.
My bold prediction, I honestly am gonna like go out and say that they're gonna reach the Eastern Conference Finals. I I honestly I think they're coming in like hungry.
Yeah.
I think they're coming in with something to prove. Like last year, everyone wanted to doubt us. Like, look what we did. Like, and it's great. Like, I think they really did. Like, and David Pastrnak on 32 Thoughts, he said that we proved a lot of people wrong last year. We weren't even supposed to make the playoffs, and
Yeah.
they beat. He threw a little shade at Toronto, but he's like, we beat a better Toronto team like on paper. Which honestly, like to like the credit, like the Bruins didn't have like the greatest team on paper. Like you look at that group,
Yeah.
it's like, how did this team get 109 points?
Yeah.
And then there they are, and that's what they did. I think you got a deeper team, you have a better team, you got a stronger team. a much heavier team. I think these guys will play into Montgomery's system really well. And I think you're going to see a team that kind of now wants to prove to everybody, like, all right, last year was fun, but like now here's a new gear. And they want to beat Florida in the worst way possible. Like they want it. I'm sure that they'll want to exercise those demons. I mean, it's been 2 years, and credit to Florida. Florida is a fantastic hockey team. I love the way they play. I like their structure, and they just suffocate the life out of you. And
Yeah,
I think they're gonna come. They're coming for it. I think they are. And I can see them reaching the Eastern Conference Finals. I think the East is wide open. To be very
it
honest,
is. Yeah,
I really do. Like the wild card, I think, is completely up for grabs. I think the top three in each division might be set in stone, but after that, it's completely up for grabs.
yeah,
And I think the Bruins, no matter what, will find their way into the playoffs. And I think this is a year where they can kind of go on a run. You added some good veterans in Lindholm and Zadorov, and they're going to bring their veteran leadership too. I mean,
yeah.
they've been to the playoffs, they've been on runs. Now it's now it's pretty much go time for the Bruins. I think this is going to be a year where they go on a run. They finally exercise their first round demons. So,
Yeah, for sure.
so
Yeah,
I
we'll
mean,
see. We'll see. It,
yeah,
it
yeah.
is it is a very good team. I think adding Zadorov and Lindholm were massive. So I think we'll see.
Mhm.
It's going to be fun to watch the Bruins, and they keep proving me wrong.
Yep.
I keep predicting their demise, and it hasn't happened in the last two seasons. So uh,
Man,
I'm going to
everybody
predict the
wrote
next
them
one.
off.
Yeah, no, it's
Everyone
definitely
wanted to, and rightfully so. Like you lost your top two like center icons. They left, and it was like I had zero expectations. I'm like, well, after having the best regular season ever and losing, I'm like, I have nothing. I was like, if they just go on a on a run, like cool, So this year, I don't have like super high expectations, but I think like I wouldn't be shocked if they actually reach the Eastern Conference
yeah.
Finals.
All right. Well, we'll just have to wait and see. And
Yep.
season's right around the corner. Thanks, Tommy, for coming on and talking Bruins, setting
Yeah.
up the season. We'll make sure to check out everything at thehockeywriters.com. We got great preview content from everyone on the site and the Substack as well, but make sure you're checking out everything. But until our next preview, we'll see you next time.